Hello everyone, welcome to the world of software testing. So far we have covered two differences. So first we have covered the difference between the WBT and BBT testing techniques, and in the last lecture we have covered the difference between static testing and dynamic testing. So in this lecture we are going to discuss about the difference between verification and validation. So again, this is similar to the almost similar to the static testing and dynamic testing. So just go through the differences. So again, here as well we'll see the V model here first. So if you see in the V model, on the left side we can see the verification part here, and on the right side there is a validation part. So this is termed as a dynamic testing. This is a dynamic testing, and this is termed as a static testing. And in the verification part, there is a static practice of verifying the documents. This is the documents, and then the designs, and then the codes. So this is static practice of verifying the documents. And in the validation phase, so we are actually performing the test, and this is a dynamic mechanism of validating and testing the actual product. So this is nothing but a validation. So to understand the process, so first there will be a BRS, then the SRS, that is system requirement specifications, then the designs, that is a high level design HLD, and then low level design LLD, and after that the coding will take place, which is the longest phase of the SDLC, and then the code is finished here, and on the finished code, the coding, that is the developers perform the unit testing here, and then once they perform the unit testing, at this point the build is given to the test engineer for the testing purpose, and after that the dynamic testing gets started. And here the test engineer will perform the component testing, the system integration testing, system testing, and the acceptance testing. So to carry out the validation, so the code must be deployed to the QA environment. So here it must be deployed to the QA environment. And for the static testing or the verification, we don't need to have the code deployed to the QA environment. And in case of verification, we perform reviews, inspection, walkthroughs to carry out the different types of reviews based on these documents, designs, and the codes. So this is the basic idea of the V model. Again, we have discussed. So if you want to have idea in detail on the V model, you can go to the playlist and you can watch all the videos on the SDLC process models. So let's go back and see the difference one by one. So the first difference is the verification checks whether we are building the right product. So it checks whether we are building the right product, and validation checks whether we build the product right. So this is after the completion of product. So if you see here, so this is after completion of product. So validation we perform on the completed product, and verification on the documents, that is to ensure whether we are building the right product. So this is nothing but a verification. So this is the first difference. And then second difference is verification is also known as the static testing. So this is we have already discussed in the last lecture. And the validation is also known as the dynamic testing. So this is the second difference here. And the verification is the process of evaluating a software at a development phase and decide whether the product of given application satisfies the specified requirements. So this is before the code deployment. So this happens before the code deployment. So it is a process of evaluating a software at a development phase. Development phase means the code is yet to be deployed, and to decide whether the product of given application satisfies the specified requirements. So this is a verification. Validation is a process of evaluating a software at the end of development process. And to check whether it meets the customer requirements. So in the validation, the test engineer performs the actual test execution to check the overall functionality of the application. So this is a validation. The next is in the verification testing, we can find the bugs early in the development phase of the product. So with the help of verifying the documents, design and codes for their completeness and the correctness. So if we do the verification testing, definitely we can find the early bugs in the development phase. That is, we can definitely optimize our requirements, correct our requirements if there are any mismatches as compared to the customer requirement. So we can find the bugs early in the development phase instead of getting caught in the validation phase. So that's why in verification testing we can find the bugs early in the application, early in the development phase of the product. And in the validation testing, we can find those bugs which are not caught in the verification process. So whatever the bugs are passed or the leak from the verification, that will be caught in the validation process. The next difference is, it is the static practice of verifying the documents, design and codes. So this is a static practice. So we are just verifying the documents with the reviews or walkthroughs. In case of validation, it is a dynamic mechanism of validating and testing the actual product. So this is a dynamic mechanism, because we are already validating that actual product directly on the application. So this is the fifth difference. The next is, it does not involve code execution. So again, we have already discussed this. So before the code execution, we perform verification testing, and it always involves the code execution. So once the code is executed or deployed to the QA environment, the test engineer performs the validation. The next is, it is human-based checking of documents and files. So again, we are checking these as a static practice. So it is human-based checking of documents and files, and the validation is computer-based execution of program. So this is the seventh difference between verification and validation. The next is, it uses methods like inspection, reviews, walkthroughs. So again, we will discuss these three types of reviews in the upcoming lecture: inspection, reviews and walkthroughs, and the desk checking. So these are the methods are used in the verification phase. And the validation uses the methods like black box testing techniques, so or the functional testing. So to carry out the validation, we use the component testing, then the system testing, functional testing. So we use those methods. The quality assurance comes under the verification testing. So again, this is kind of prevention we are achieving with the help of verification, and the quality control comes under the validation testing. So again, this is nothing but a cure we are achieving with the validation phase. So the quality, that is QA, comes under the verification testing, and QC comes under the validation testing. So QA is nothing but more about the process. And the last point, this is we have covered. So the last point is, verification is done before the validation testing. So again, this is we have already covered in the V model. So we first do the verification part, and then after the code deployment, we perform the validation testing. And after the verification testing, the validation testing takes place. So this can be seen from here. So we are going from this side to this side. So first we perform the verification part, and then we move to the validation part. So these are the differences between the V model. So thanks for watching this video. Please do subscribe our YouTube channel for such more videos on the software testing concepts, and click on the bell icon to get the latest updates. So in the upcoming lecture, we'll dig further into the software testing concepts. Thank you so much for watching. Stay tuned.